Welcome to the Solidworks tutorial part 2. In this tutorial I'll be demonstrating some additional features for making parts, including the Smart Dimension tool, the Extrude Cut tool, the Pattern tool, and the Fillet tool. Let's open up Solidworks. And we're going to create a new document and a part file. In this tutorial, we're going to be creating a 6-inch by 12-inch block that's 1.5 inches tall, and then putting a whole bunch of holes in it so that the bolts that we created in the first tutorial can fit into this block. All right, so the first few steps I'm going to go through a bit more quickly. We're going to start off with extruded boss or base. We're going to select the top plane, and then in this case, we're going to draw a rectangular piece starting from the origin. So select, click on the origin, drag to the left and up, and let go. And you'll notice on the left-hand side, if we'd like, we can define each of the different points of the rectangle by typing in their x and y coordinates. And that works. Another way of doing that that's a little faster is using what's called the Smart Dimension tool. So in the top left, select Smart Dimension. And with the Smart Dimension tool, you can click on an edge, drag up, or sorry, not click and drag, click on an edge, move the mouse, click again, so it's not a click and drag, and then you can type in how long you want that edge to be. In this case, 12 inches. I'll just type in 12, and we can see that it resized the rectangle to be 12 inches wide. Just to check, we're in the IPS or inch-pound-second system, so if I just type in 12, it'll be in inches. All right, next I'm going to dimension this side. I'm going to select the edge, move my mouse without dragging, select again to place the dimension, and this is going to be 6 inches tall. Okay, so there we go, a 6-inch by 12-inch rectangle. I'll click check mark. Now, to make it three-dimensional, I'll click Exit Sketch, and I can drag this arrow to make it taller. In this case, I want to make it 1.5 inches tall. Check mark. Okay, next up, I'm going to show you how to put holes in pieces that you've already made. This is similar to using the extruded base or boss tool, but instead we're going to use something called the extruded cut tool. So we're going to select that. It's going to ask for a plane or face or edge on which you're going to sketch something to cut. So I'm going to select the top plane. I'm also going to use this tool to look down on the top plane. Now I've already been moved over to the sketch toolbar, and I'm going to select a circle. And I'm not going to worry too much about where I place it. I'm going to click and drag the circle just to place it somewhere there. Now, if you look over in the parameters, I'm going to choose the x and y coordinates. In this case, I want it to be 2 inches to the right of the origin and 2 inches up from the origin. And this hole is going to be a 1/2 inch diameter, so I'm going to type in 0.25 inches radius, or a 1/4 inch radius. Check mark. All right, so there's the circle that I've placed. When I select Exit Sketch, you'll see that it already goes back into the Cut Extrude tab. And right there it's showing you that it's going to cut that circle all the way back through the part. Now there's a few options for how to make this cut happen. Blind means that you can type in a dimension for how far it's going to cut. So I can cut a 1/2 inch in or 1 inch in. In this case, I want it to cut through the whole part, and so I can just select through all. It'll cut all the way through. Okay, check mark, and we're done with that. Okay, next I'm going to show you how to place or how to cut a whole bunch more holes in this. In this case, I want a grid of 5 holes by 2 holes, so a grid of 10 total holes. And we could do that by using the extruded cut tool and placing them one at a time, or we can use something called the linear pattern tool. So I'm going to select the thing that I want to repeat, which is this cut extrude. I'm going to select linear pattern. Now up here, direction 1, I'm going to cut to the right. So the direction that it asks is for me to select a line on the part that shows the direction I want the cuts to happen. So I'm going to select the bottom there, and you'll see a little arrow that shows it's going to cut to the right. This spacing distance, I'm going to type in 2 inches for that. And then it's asking for how many total holes do I want. So I've already got one. I actually want a total of 5. So there we go. Now in direction 2, I'm going to select a different dimension or direction that I want these holes to go in. I also want the holes to be, there to be holes up above this. So I'm going to select this line. You'll notice right away that there's a little arrow that was pointing down. I actually want these holes to be cut above the original holes. So I'm going to click on it so it flips up. And I want these to be 2 inches above the original holes. It's a little slow to respond here. There we go. Now at the very bottom, at the very top, I'm going to click check mark. One thing to mention, if you don't see all these things, all these holes going as you're cutting, there's a button here for partial or full preview, and I'm on partial preview. All right, check mark, and then there we go. There's a whole bunch of holes in this block of wood. All right, the last tool that I'm going to show you is the fillet tool, and the fillet tool is used for rounding the edges of things that are sharp. So in this case, I'm going to round the edges of the top of the part. So I'm going to select fillet, and then I can click each individual edge if I want, and it will round each of those edges. Right, you can imagine if you're making a part in the shop, you didn't want it to be sharp, you might select the fillet tool to tell someone to round the edges of the part. I can change how rounded I want those corners to be. I'm going to type in 0.25 inches for the radius, and it'll update the radius, 0.25, enter. Make a larger radius on that fillet. Okay, check mark. Now we're just about done with the part. Those are the new things that I was intending to show you. The pattern tool, the fillet tool, the extrude cut tool, and the smart dimension tool. Before we're done, let's make sure we save the part. Save it to my W drive. There we go. I'm going to call this part the block. And I think it's a good habit to give it an appearance. So let's go over the appearance. Toolbar on the right. Open up appearances. And let's go with something different than last time. How about plastic? There's a whole bunch of different options here. About high gloss plastic. And we can just pick to give it a certain color. So let's click and drag the blue over to the name of the part. And there we go. So this is a blue plastic part. Maybe something that could have been 3D printed. All right, so that's it. Save it one more time. And that is the end of the SolidWorks tutorial part 2.